It all started with a little girl and a dog who refused to leave the playground where she died. For days, the K9 sat there, motionless, ignoring commands, ignoring food, eyes locked on the merry-go-round, as if he were waiting for someone to come back. Everyone said it was just grief. But when the dog barked, just once, it shattered the silence and exposed a truth no one was ready for. A hidden photo, a buried whistle, and a secret buried far deeper than anyone imagined. This is the story of a brave K9 who didn't just mourn. He remembered, and he refused to let the truth die with her. Welcome to Heroic Animals, where loyalty has 4 legs, and true heroes walk on paws. On this channel, we bring you powerful, emotional, and true inspired stories of incredible animals who change lives, uncover the truth, and protect those who cannot protect themselves. If you believe in courage, loyalty, and the bond between humans and animals, you're in the right place. Be sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and never miss a story that will stay with you long after the video ends. The playground was silent. The yellow swing swayed gently in the morning breeze, creaking like an old rocking chair. The sandbox, once filled with laughter and tiny footprints, now sat undisturbed, flattened by the weight of something heavier than time. And in the middle of it all, he sat, Rex, the department's most trusted K9, a seasoned German shepherd with years of service and a decorated record. But today, he wasn't a working dog. Today, he was grieving. It had been 3 days since they found Lily Parker's body lying under the jungle gym, her small frame twisted, her pink jacket soaked from the night's rain. The initial report called it an unfortunate fall, possibly a case of climbing too high and slipping. No witnesses, no foul play. Case closed. But Rex wouldn't leave. Officer Maria Blake stood at the edge of the scene, arms crossed, eyes tired. She had been with Rex since his first patrol. She had never seen him like this, immobile, staring at the merry-go-round, as if waiting for someone to come back. Maria had tried everything, his favorite ball, bacon treats, even her firmest command voice. "Come on, Rex, it's over," she'd whispered yesterday. But Rex didn't believe it was over. Neither did Maria, not really. Lily wasn't just any child. She was the kind who colored thank you cards for every officer she met, who left chalk hearts on the sidewalk outside the station, who had once wrapped Rex in a birthday hat and called him her real-life guardian wolf. Rex loved her, and Lily adored him, so when he refused to leave the spot where she died, Maria stayed, too. That morning, as the fog rolled low over the trees, Rex stirred for the first time in hours. His ears perked, his body tensed. Then, without warning, he growled, a deep, guttural sound that Maria hadn't heard in years. "What is it, boy?" she asked, stepping closer. Rex's eyes locked on the merry-go-round. It was old, rusted at the joints, squeaky when spun, probably due for removal. But today, it wasn't the structure itself that mattered. It was what was underneath. Rex moved suddenly, charging forward with sharp intent. He began to dig, his powerful paws throwing loose mulch aside with urgency. Maria blinked, surprised. "Rex, stop, what are you doing?" Then something caught the light. A glint of metal. Maria dropped to her knees beside him. It was a silver whistle, the kind issued to school coaches. Stained, partially buried, and next to it, just beneath a layer of wet leaves, was a folded piece of paper. She unfolded it with trembling fingers. The ink had bled from the rain, but she could still make out the words. "Meet me after school, don't tell anyone, or else." The signature was gone, but the handwriting was tight, blocky, controlled. Maria's mind raced. The only person at the school who still used a coach's whistle was Coach Daniels. He'd been the one to call in Lily's fall. He'd also been the one to push the team to close the case quickly. And now, Rex had just dug up a whistle that shouldn't have been buried there. Maria looked at the dog. He wasn't barking anymore. He wasn't growling. He just stood there, watching her, as if saying, "You see it now too, don't you?" She took a slow breath. Everything about the past week was unraveling, and Rex was leading the way. This wasn't just grief. This was a message, and the real story behind Lily's death had only just begun. Maria's fingers clenched tighter around the damp paper. A cold chill crept up her spine, not from the morning air, but from the realization that everything they had believed about Lily's death might be a lie. She stared at the whistle again. The initials, DC, were faintly engraved at the base. Daniels. Coach Daniels. The same man who had comforted Lily's parents with practiced sympathy. The same man who had told Maria there were no signs of foul play. And here she was, holding a blood-stained whistle he never reported missing. Rex stood beside her, panting lightly, eyes scanning the trees like a soldier on guard. He wasn't just waiting anymore. He was hunting. Maria stood and slipped the paper and whistle into an evidence bag. She reached for her radio but hesitated. If Daniels was involved, and the department had closed the case so quickly, who else had been too quick to move on? "Come on, Rex," she whispered. "Let's pay Coach Daniels a visit." By the time they reached the school gymnasium, the morning sun was struggling through the clouds. The playground faded behind them, but the memory of it hung heavy in the air. Coach Daniels was already inside. She spotted him through the glass window of his office, tall, broad-shouldered, late 40s, the kind of man who commanded authority with a clap and a whistle. He smiled when she knocked. "Officer Blake, to what do I owe the pleasure?" Maria kept her expression neutral. Rex stood stiffly by her side, hackles just beginning to rise. "Just tying up a few loose ends," she said. "Mind if I ask a few questions?" "Of course." He gestured to the chair across from his desk, still trying to make sense of what happened to Lily. Maria nodded slowly. "She was a sweet kid." "The sweetest," Daniel said. "It broke my heart. Playground should have been safer. I've pushed the district to inspect the equipment again." "Right," Maria murmured. "Say, did you ever lose a whistle out there?" Daniels raised a brow. "Whistle?" Maria pulled out the evidence bag and laid it gently on the desk. His reaction was a flicker, too fast for most people to notice. But Rex noticed. He let out a low growl. Daniels leaned back. "That looks like mine. Haven't seen it in a while. Honestly, could have dropped it last month." "It was buried," Maria said evenly, "under mulch, next to a threatening note." Daniels blinked. "Excuse me?" Maria stood. The note was addressed to Lily. "Told her to meet someone after school. It was signed anonymously. You didn't happen to see her that afternoon, did you?" The coach's jaw clenched. "No, she left before I did. I locked up the gym and went home." Maria studied him. "Funny. According to one of the janitors, your car was still in the lot an hour after school ended." Daniel's smile faltered. Before he could answer, Rex lunged forward. Just a step, but with enough force to knock his front paws against the desk. He was barking now, sharp and furious. "Get that dog out of here," Daniels shouted, recoiling. Maria didn't move. "You sure you're telling the truth, Coach?" He stood abruptly. "I'm done with this conversation." Maria took a slow breath. "So am I." She led Rex out without another word, but her gut screamed louder than the barking had. Rex knew. And now, so did she. The problem? If Daniels really had something to hide, she couldn't trust this case with just anyone. Too many people had wanted it closed. Too many loose ends had been ignored. But Rex had pulled the first thread, and it was starting to unravel everything. Back at the station, Maria sat alone in the evidence room. The only sound the quiet hum of the ventilation unit overhead. She slid the plastic evidence bag across the table again. The whistle, the note, both damning pieces of a puzzle no one wanted to solve. Outside, Rex lay by the doorway, his head resting on his paws, but his ears twitching at every sound. He wasn't resting, he was listening. Maria pulled Lily's case file from the digital archive. She opened the report. Sparse. Too sparse. No interviews with other students. No review of security cameras. Not even a proper sweep of the scene. Why had they closed it so quickly? She frowned and tapped her keyboard. There had to be something they missed. Something recorded. The school had recently installed outdoor surveillance cameras after a string of petty thefts. She found the footage from the day Lily died. And as the grainy image loaded, her pulse quickened. There was Lily, skipping out of the building just after 3 p.m., her pink backpack bouncing with each step. She stopped to tie her shoelace near the swing set. Then, someone else entered the frame. Maria leaned forward. It was a boy. Tall, maybe 11 or 12, wearing a dark hoodie with the hood pulled low, and a large duffel bag slung over his shoulder. He walked up to Lily. She didn't look scared. In fact, she smiled. They talked for a minute. Then she followed him, behind the slide, out of frame. And she never came back. Maria hit pause, rewound, watched again. Her fingers trembled as she opened the student registry. There were only 2 boys in that age range at the school who matched the build. She checked both profiles. Both accounted for. One was in after-school art club. The other picked up by his dad at 2:45. So, who was the boy in the hoodie? He wasn't a student. Maria printed the frame and slipped it into a new file marked unidentified male, person of interest. She stood and glanced at Rex. He was already on his feet. He'd sensed it. Again. And Maria knew she couldn't go back to her captain, not yet. Not with this little. She needed more. She called Lily's mother. Mrs. Parker, I know this is difficult, Maria said gently, her voice echoing through the quiet kitchen. The woman looked exhausted, sunken eyes. Hands wrapped around a mug she hadn't sipped from. Anything you need, she whispered, if it helps Lily. Maria hesitated. Did Lily ever mention a friend at school, a new kid? Someone she wasn't supposed to talk to? Mrs. Parker's eyes narrowed. There was someone, a few weeks ago. She said a boy had started meeting her during recess. But when I asked about him, she said he was kind of a secret. I thought it was just her imagination. Maria's breath caught. Did she ever describe him? She said he wore a grown-up hoodie and smelled like gasoline. Gasoline. Maria's mind raced. Maintenance staff? Groundskeepers? Delivery drivers? Then she remembered something. During the week Lily died, there had been a temporary fencing crew on campus. Contractors brought in to fix the old gate by the football field. She reached for her phone. Time to pay the fencing company a visit. And Rex? He was already waiting by the door. The fencing company was a small, family-run outfit based out of the next town over, Midtown Fencing Solutions. Maria parked outside their dusty office just before noon. Rex sitting alert in the backseat, staring out the window as if he sensed what was coming. The receptionist, a middle-aged woman with coffee-stained teeth and a raspy voice, looked up as Maria stepped inside. Help you? Maria showed her badge. I need a list of all employees who were dispatched to Briar Glen Elementary last month. The woman narrowed her eyes. Is this about the girl? Maria didn't answer. She didn't need to. The woman rifled through a drawer and handed over a clipboard. 4 names were listed. 2 licensed contractors, 1 apprentice, and 1 part-time driver. Maria scanned the names. Frank Dawson, Tim Lyle, Richard Bowen, and then Jackson, Jax, Lowry. There was no phone number next to his name. No credentials. Just a scribbled note. Hired for day labor. Paid cash. Referred by FD. Frank Dawson. Maria circled the name. Does Jax still work here? She asked. The woman shook her head. Nah. Showed up for 1 job. Then ghosted. Quiet kid. Didn't talk much. Gave me the creeps. To be honest. Any idea where he is now? Nope. But, she paused. His van's still out back. Maria stiffened. His van? Yeah. Broke down the day after the school job. Said he'd be back for it. That was weeks ago. Out behind the building, parked beneath a rusted corrugated roof, sat a gray cargo van with faded paint and cracked taillights. Rex jumped out of the car before Maria even opened the door fully. He approached the van slowly, nose twitching, body tense like a bowstring. Maria followed, hand resting lightly on her sidearm. The back doors of the van were locked, but the front passenger window had been left open just a crack. Rex let out a soft growl. Maria pulled on a pair of gloves, popped the door, and carefully climbed into the driver's seat. The van smelled of old gasoline, sweat, and something else, something sour. Metallic. She opened the glove compartment. Inside was a single Polaroid. It was Lily, sitting on the playground steps, holding Rex's leash. The photo had been taken from a distance, grainy, tilted, stalked. Maria's blood ran cold. She opened the back of the van with a crowbar borrowed from the fencing shop. It took all her strength. The door gave with a groan. Inside were fast food wrappers, an old mattress, a toolbox, and duct tape. Lots of duct tape. Rex began to bark, sharp, insistent. He jumped inside, sniffed the mattress, then turned his nose to the corner near the wheel well. Maria knelt beside him and peeled back a tarp. A small pink sneaker, mud-caked, torn. It matched the pair Lily had been wearing the day she disappeared. Only one had been recovered. Maria's breath caught. This was it. Proof Lily hadn't simply fallen. Proof someone had lured her behind the slide. That she had trusted someone she shouldn't have. She radioed it in. "This is Officer Maria Blake. I need a forensics team at Midtown Fencing Solutions. We've got a vehicle containing evidence tied to an active child death investigation. Suspect's name is Jackson Lowry. Consider him dangerous, possibly unstable." She looked at Rex. He was quiet again, staring at her. Not with triumph. With urgency. Because this wasn't over. If Jax had stalked Lily, had lured her, had left his van behind, where had he gone next? And how many other Polaroids were out there? The forensics team was still combing through the van when Maria stepped aside to take a call from dispatch. Her phone buzzed with urgency. "We may have something," said Officer Delgado, a friend from the neighboring county. "A girl from our jurisdiction, Emily Tran, age 9, filed a report last month about a man watching her from the edge of her school playground. No one took it seriously. But the description matches the guy you're after. Hooded sweatshirt, duffel bag, weird smell like chemicals or fuel." Maria felt her stomach twist. Did anyone follow up? Campus police talked to a few janitors. Brushed it off as a drifter. But get this. Emily mentioned he offered her candy and said he had a puppy in his truck. Classic lure tactic. Sickening. Where's Emily now? She's safe. Parents pulled her out of school after the incident, homeschooling her temporarily. Did she ever mention a location? Somewhere he tried to take her? There was a pause. Yeah, she said he asked her if she liked treehouses. And said his was in the woods, with no grown-ups allowed. Maria's eyes narrowed. Did you search the area? Delgado sighed. We didn't take it seriously back then. We just assumed she was scared by a homeless guy. Maria hung up without another word. She turned to Rex, who was already standing by the passenger side door. Ready. It wasn't a homeless man. It was Jax Lowry. And now they had a lead. The pines thickened as they drove northeast. The road turning to gravel. Then dirt. Maria had the location Emily mentioned, a state-owned patch of forest near the edge of Pine Hollow. With no formal trails, but known to hikers for its hidden clearings. Let's hope your nose is sharper than satellite GPS. Maria muttered. Rex gave a soft huff. As they reached the edge of the tree line, Maria killed the engine. They walked the rest of the way, Maria with her flashlight drawn. Rex off leash but never straying more than a few feet. The trees towered overhead, blotting out the last rays of sunlight. Then Rex stopped. His body stiffened. He sniffed the air, twice, then bolted left. Deeper into the woods. Maria followed, heart hammering in her chest. After 100 yards, they reached a small clearing. And there it was. A makeshift cabin, half-built with scavenged wood and corrugated metal. No electricity. No visible path leading to it. Maria crouched behind a tree, heart racing. The door was ajar. Inside, a dim lantern flickered, and shadows moved. Rex let out a low growl. His muscles coiled. Maria activated her body cam and whispered into her radio. This is Officer Blake. I've located a potential suspect dwelling in Pine Hollow Forest. Sending coordinates now. Going in. She stepped into the clearing slowly. One hand raised, the other on her weapon. Police, come out with your hands visible. No answer. She advanced slowly. Then, a creak inside. Footsteps. Someone was there. She edged toward the door. Motioned for Rex to circle right. Suddenly, a loud crash. Rex barked. A figure bolted from the back of the shack. Tall, hooded, carrying something in one hand. Maria gave chase. Stop, police. But the man didn't stop. He dashed through the trees, weaving like a shadow. Rex caught up first. With a powerful leap, he lunged and latched onto the man's leg, dragging him to the ground. Maria reached them seconds later. Cuffs drawn. The man screamed, "Get him off me!" Maria wrenched off the hood. It was Jax. Pale, eyes wild, and in his hand, he still clutched something. A camera. The last photo it took? Still visible on the screen. A little girl, alive. Not Lily. Someone else. Bound, frightened, and still out there. The shack was eerily silent after the scuffle. Jax Lowry sat handcuffed to a support beam. Blood trickling from a gash above his eyebrow. Breathing hard. His eyes darted wildly from corner to corner, as if trying to crawl out of his own skin. Maria paced just a few feet away, clutching the camera that had fallen from his hand. The screen was cracked, but the image remained, blurry, dimly lit, and horrifying. A young girl, no older than 8, bound and blindfolded, sitting against a wall of rough wooden planks. "Who is she?" Maria demanded. "Where is she?" Jax smirked through bloody teeth. "Why don't you ask your dog? He seems to know everything." Maria stepped closer, her voice deadly calm. "You have one chance to do the right thing. Tell me where she is." He snorted. "They never listen to the smart ones. Just keep chasing shadows." Rex let out a sharp bark. Tail stiff, ears forward. Maria turned. He was at the far side of the shack, pawing at the floor. She moved quickly, kneeling beside him. It was a hatch, barely visible, camouflaged with a dusty rug and a few boards nailed hastily over it. Maria pried it open. The scent hit her instantly, damp earth, mold, and something foul, chemical. A narrow staircase led downward. "Backup is 5 minutes out," she said into her radio. "But I'm not waiting." She drew her flashlight and weapon, and with Rex in the lead, descended into the darkness. The air grew colder with each step. The flashlight beam danced across stone walls and dirt floors. It wasn't a basement, it was more like a bunker. Makeshift shelves lined one wall, covered in jars, tools, ropes, and zip ties. Rex paused, nose twitching, then darted toward a far wall and began to scratch frantically. Maria rushed over and ran her hand along the planks. Hollow. She kicked the panel. Once, twice. It gave way. Behind it was a narrow crawl space. And inside, a small body. Curled up, shaking. Hey, sweetie," Maria whispered, crawling in. "I'm here. You're safe now." The girl flinched, then began to sob. Rex stayed back, ears low, tail wagging gently. Maria wrapped the girl in her jacket and carried her up the stairs, whispering words of comfort she wasn't even sure the child could hear. As they emerged into the shack, the girl clung to Maria like a lifeline. Jax's eyes widened in disbelief. "You found her?" he said, as if he couldn't believe it himself. "She wasn't supposed to make a sound." Maria's jaw clenched. "You weren't supposed to walk free," she said coldly. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. The girl whimpered, burying her face in Maria's shoulder. Rex leaned in and licked her hand gently. She didn't recoil. She reached for his fur and held on. Outside, the clearing lit up with headlights and shouting officers. Paramedics took the girl. SWAT loaded Jax into a transport van. But amid all the noise, Maria crouched beside Rex. "You saved her," she whispered. "You knew." Rex licked her cheek once, then looked toward the trees, toward the playground they had left behind, where this nightmare began, and where one little girl, Lily, had never gotten the chance to be rescued. But tonight, someone else had. Because Rex never gave up. Because he refused to leave. The shack had gone quiet. Jax had been hauled away. And the rescued girl, later identified as Mia Jensen, was receiving treatment at the hospital. Dehydrated but alive, she hadn't spoken yet. The trauma was still fresh, buried behind silent tears and darting eyes. Maria stood beside Rex, watching the flashing lights fade into the trees. She should have felt relief. But she didn't, because something still wasn't right. As she turned to head back into the shack for one last sweep, a young forensics officer approached, holding a sealed evidence bag. "Detective Blake? This was found stuffed in the false panel above the bunk bed. You'll want to see it." Inside the bag was a weathered manila envelope. Maria stepped under the lantern light and opened it with gloved hands. Photos. Not just one. 16. One after another. She pulled them out, and each time her heart dropped lower into her stomach. All of them were of young girls. Different schools, different playgrounds, different faces. Each image captured from a distance. Some smiling, some unaware, some visibly frightened. And in the bottom of the envelope, a folded map. It had red pins stuck into 5 different locations across the region. The school Lily had attended was one of them. So was Emily Tran's. And the area where they found Mia. 3 pins had no names beside them. Just dates. One of them, next week. Maria stared at the calendar printed on the back of the envelope. The date was marked with a crude drawing of a swing set. Her hands shook. This wasn't just about Lily. This wasn't a one-time tragedy. This was a pattern. And Jax Lowry wasn't just a drifter with bad intentions. He was a predator, possibly part of something much larger. Maria drove back to the station in near silence. Rex sat in the passenger seat, ears still alert, as if reading her thoughts. At her desk, Maria laid the photos out across the table, studying the faces. One girl had already been identified. Another resembled a missing persons alert from 2 counties away. But many were still unknown. She flipped to the last image in the stack. Her breath caught. This one was of Lily. But not the version Maria remembered, joyful and radiant. This photo was taken at night. And Lily looked afraid. She was near the playground, near the merry-go-round. It had been taken the day she died. Maria flipped it over. In smeared pencil was one word: proof. Her blood ran cold. Jax hadn't just followed these children. He had documented them, tracked them, planned for them. And in Lily's case, he might have taken this photo after she died. Or worse, right before. She stared at Rex. He had known. Somehow. He had always known. His refusal to leave the playground. His instinctive growl when he saw Coach Daniels. His urgency in finding Mia's hiding place. Rex had sensed it wasn't just about grief. It was about justice. And now Maria understood. Jax may be behind bars. But someone else had helped him. Someone who gave him school access. Someone who erased footage. Someone who wanted the case closed fast. She stood slowly, turned toward the hallway, and walked back toward the evidence room, toward Lily's original case file. Because there was one name that had shown up too early. Too often. And Maria was done ignoring the shadows. This wasn't over. Not even close. Maria stood alone in the evidence room. The single overhead bulb casting a cold white glow. In front of her lay Lily's original case file. Now dog-eared and thin. She flipped through it again, searching for a detail she had skimmed over so many times before. Then, she saw it. A notation in the corner of the intake report. Witness number 2. Daniels. M. Arrived at scene before officers. Maria froze. She remembered that name. Margaret Daniels, principal of Briar Glen Elementary. And Coach Daniels' older sister. She'd arrived at the playground minutes before police. Had claimed she was just nearby. Had insisted the fall was an accident. Had urged the department to spare the family further pain and close the case quickly. She'd refused media interviews. Had signed off on Jax's temp clearance when the fencing repairs were approved. It was all right there. And no one had seen it. Until now. Maria stood abruptly and grabbed her coat. Rex was already waiting by the door. Principal Daniels lived on the outskirts of town, in a gated home framed by old trees and hydrangeas. She greeted Maria with a polite smile when she arrived. "Detective Blake," she said coolly. "Is something wrong?" Rex growled. Low, steady. Maria didn't waste time. "We found Mia Jensen alive," she said, and evidence linking Jax Lowry to multiple targeted abductions across school grounds, including Briar Glen. Daniels blinked. "That's horrifying. We also found a list," Maria continued, "of locations and approval signatures." Daniels paled slightly. "I assure you, I wouldn't knowingly." "You gave Jax access," Maria cut in. "You pushed to close Lily's case. You appeared at the scene before anyone else. You deleted camera logs." Daniels' face twitched. "I did it to protect the school." "No," Maria said quietly. "You did it to protect your brother." Daniels turned away. Rex barked once. Loud. She froze. Then, slowly, she nodded. "He promised it would only be one child." She whispered. "Just one. He said she'd be fine. That he'd just scare her. He was broken after the divorce. Angry. But he said it would stop." Maria felt bile rise in her throat. "And when Lily died?" Daniels's voice cracked. "He said she panicked. Fell. He begged me to help him cover it. And I did." Rex stepped forward. Daniels sank into the chair behind her. Defeated. "I kept the files hidden. I deleted backup video. Maria didn't wait for more. She radioed it in. "Officer Blake, I need immediate units at 77 Larchwood Avenue. I have a second suspect in custody. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. Accessory after the fact. Possibly more." As sirens approached in the distance, Rex sat down beside Maria, watching the woman who had let her school become a hunting ground. Who had let Lily die to save her own family name. 3 weeks later, Maria visited Lily's grave. She brought Rex with her. As always, the headstone was simple. Lily Parker, 2015 to 2023. Loved beyond words, missed beyond measure. Maria placed a daisy beside the stone. Rex lay down quietly next to it, tail curled beside his paws. They stayed like that for a long while. The wind shifted, leaves rustled, and just before they left, Rex looked at the swing set nearby, the one Lily had loved most. It creaked once, gently, in the breeze, as if saying goodbye. Movie camera. This is the story of a little girl who trusted too easily. A dog who refused to forget her. And a detective who listened when no one else would. Rex didn't just uncover the truth, he changed it. Right finger if this story moved you. Please hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. And let us know if you want more stories of bravery like this one. Heroic animals is where courage lives. Paw speech balloon. What do you think Rex knew all along that the humans didn't? Let us know below.